Why are there foods that sell millions of boxes every week, yet still disappear from supermarkets? Not because no one buys them anymore, but often because a small ingredient in the formula begins to be questioned. In today's video, we will look at 10 food products that are facing the risk of being banned or forced to change their formula in 2026. Some items on this list you may have already guessed, but there are also very familiar products, things many people still buy almost every week without ever thinking they could change. What is notable is this: the products that disappear first are often not rare items. They are usually the most familiar products on supermarket shelves. And when you finish watching this list, you may begin to realize something bigger. The food industry is entering a period where many familiar ingredients are no longer accepted the way they once were. And item number 6 on this list may be something you still buy almost every week. 10. Brightly colored breakfast cereals. For many decades, brightly colored breakfast cereals have become a familiar sight in supermarkets. Those vibrant cereal boxes are often placed in the most visible spots on store shelves, and just walking past them, your eyes almost automatically stop there. Red, blue, yellow, purple. These colors make the product look more playful and especially attractive to children. In many families, breakfast cereal has long been seen as a quick solution for busy mornings. With just a bowl of milk and a handful of cereal, breakfast is almost ready. But there is one detail many people have never truly noticed. Most of the bright colors in these cereals do not come from natural fruits or vegetables. Instead, they usually come from synthetic dyes created in laboratories and used in the food industry for more than 50 years. Substances such as red dye number 3, yellow number 5, and blue number 1 have become familiar ingredients in many processed foods, especially products aimed at children. These coloring agents do not significantly change the nutritional value of the product, but they make the product look more appealing, more vibrant, and more likely to attract attention on supermarket shelves. However, in recent years, many food regulatory agencies around the world have begun re-examining the use of these synthetic dyes. Some countries have restricted them in certain products, especially foods for children. Some places require manufacturers to clearly place warnings on packaging. And there is one detail that surprises many people. Red dye number 3 was banned in cosmetics in the United States in 1990. Yet for many years afterward, it still appeared in some processed food products. When regulations change, food companies often have to adjust product formulas to meet new standards. But when the formula changes, the product often changes as well. The color may become lighter, the flavor may be different, and sometimes the texture is no longer the same as before. That means the version many people have been familiar with for years may gradually disappear from the market. Not because breakfast cereal will disappear, but because the older version of it may no longer exist. 9. Microwave butter popcorn. Microwave butter popcorn was once considered one of the most convenient foods in the modern kitchen. With just a few minutes in the microwave, a paper bag turns into a bowl of hot popcorn with a buttery aroma. No pot, no oil, no complicated preparation. That convenience is what made this product a familiar item in supermarkets. According to estimates from the food industry, Americans consume more than 13 billion bags of microwave popcorn each year. But what has begun to draw attention in recent years is not the corn kernels. It is the paper bag. Inside the layers of that bag, there is often a special coating designed to resist oil when the bag heats up in the microwave. This coating keeps oil and butter from soaking through the paper while helping maintain stable heat so the kernels pop evenly. For many years, this technology was considered a perfect solution for the convenience food industry. However, some studies later began questioning the grease-resistant compounds used in that coating. Some compounds belong to a group called PFAS, often referred to as forever chemicals, which can remain in the environment for hundreds of years with almost no breakdown. And here is the detail that makes many people pause and think. A product that is heated for only a few minutes, but the material inside its packaging can remain in nature for hundreds of years. Because of this, many regulatory agencies have begun reconsidering the use of PFAS in food packaging. Some states in the United States have started phasing out these materials, forcing manufacturers to search for alternative solutions. A friend once told me that, "I have eaten microwave popcorn almost every week for 20 years, but I never thought the paper bag was the most complicated part of the entire product." That sentence made many people realize something. Sometimes the first thing to change in the food industry is not the food inside, but the packaging around it. And when packaging has to change, manufacturers often have to redesign the entire product. That can lead to higher prices, new formulas, or familiar versions gradually disappearing from supermarket shelves. 8. Canned foods with plastic lining. Canned food has existed for more than 100 years and is still considered one of the most stable ways to preserve food. Soup, beans, fish, vegetables. These small metal cans can keep food safe for many months, even many years. But there is one detail very few people have ever noticed. Inside most metal cans is not bare metal. They are coated with a very thin plastic lining to prevent the metal from reacting with food, especially acidic foods such as tomatoes or fruit. Without this lining, food could corrode the metal and quickly spoil. For many decades, most of these linings were made from materials containing BPA, bisphenol A. Some studies estimate that more than 70% of canned foods once used epoxy linings containing BPA. This substance helped make the coating more durable and kept food stable for long periods of time. But over time, BPA began to become a major subject of debate. Some studies suggest that a very small amount of BPA can move from the lining into the food, especially when the can is stored for a long time or when temperatures change. And here is the detail that surprises many people. The part that stays in contact with the food the longest inside a can is not the metal, but the thin plastic lining that we never see. One viewer once commented under a video about stored foods, "I have had an entire shelf of canned foods in my basement for years. I always thought canned food was the most stable thing in the kitchen, but I never thought the lining inside the can might be the first thing to change." Because of these debates, many large food companies have begun switching to BPA-free linings. But replacing materials is not as simple as changing a label. Manufacturers must test new materials to ensure the food does not react with the can and that it can still maintain the same long shelf life as before. This increases production costs, requires adjustments to manufacturing lines, and sometimes forces the entire product to be redesigned. That is why sometimes a familiar food does not change because of a lack of ingredients. It changes because of a thin layer of material inside the can that consumers have never seen. 7. Artificial sweeteners. For many years, artificial sweeteners were considered one of the important inventions of the modern food industry. They can produce sweetness hundreds of times stronger than sugar, yet provide almost no energy. Because of this characteristic, they quickly became a popular choice in diet or sugar-free products. Just look at any supermarket, and you will see them everywhere. Diet soda, sugar-free gum, low-calorie cookies, low-fat yogurt, even some sauces and sports drinks. Many people believe that simply replacing sugar with artificial sweeteners can significantly reduce the number of calories in their diet. But there is something many people do not realize. Many people consume artificial sweeteners every day without even knowing they are using them. They do not appear only in diet soda, but also in hundreds of other foods labeled low sugar or sugar-free. Some substances, such as sucralose or aspartame, can be 200 to 600 times sweeter than sugar. That means only a very small amount is enough to replace a large amount of sugar in a product. For many years, this was seen as a major advantage for the food industry, keeping the familiar sweet taste while reducing calories. However, in recent years, some studies have begun questioning the long-term consumption of these sweeteners. Scientists are examining whether frequent use of them may affect the gut microbiome, cravings for sweetness, or the way the body responds to sweet taste over time. A friend of mine once told a simple story that made me think. He had a habit of drinking diet soda every evening after dinner. One night, when he opened the can, he heard the familiar hiss and took the first sip, then paused. He said the taste seemed different. Not necessarily worse, but no longer the same soda he had been drinking for many years. A few weeks later, he learned that several beverage companies had adjusted the sweetener formulas in their products as new standards and research began to appear. Changes like this often happen very quietly. The packaging stays the same. The brand stays the same. But the formula inside may have been adjusted many times over the years. And that is what often happens in the food industry. When an ingredient begins to be questioned, manufacturers must test alternative options. Sometimes those are different sweeteners. Sometimes they are natural extracts such as stevia or monk fruit. But each change can alter the familiar flavor of a product. So in the coming years, many sugar-free products may still appear on supermarket shelves. But the sweetness we have been used to for many years may no longer be created in the same way. 6. Energy drinks. Have you ever wondered what an energy drink actually does to your body within a few minutes after you drink it? For many people, energy drinks are simply a quick way to feel more alert. One small can, a few sips, and the feeling of fatigue seems to disappear. Because of that, over many years, energy drinks have become a global industry worth tens of billions of dollars. They are advertised as a solution for long days, night shifts, or study sessions that last late into the night. But what many people rarely think about is this. Those small cans actually contain a fairly complex mixture of several different stimulants. Caffeine is usually the most prominent ingredient. One can of energy drink may contain from 80 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, equivalent to 1 or even 2 strong cups of coffee. But caffeine is not the only ingredient. Many products also contain taurine, guarana, high doses of B vitamins, and other synthetic compounds designed to increase alertness. When these ingredients combine, they create a rapid, stimulating effect, something many people feel only minutes after drinking. But here is what has begun to draw the attention of many experts. Many people consume energy drinks without realizing they are absorbing the equivalent of several cups of coffee worth of caffeine in a single can. In recent years, some countries have begun reconsidering how these products are regulated. Some places have restricted the sale of energy drinks to children and teenagers, while others require clearer warnings about caffeine content on packaging. These changes do not mean that energy drinks will disappear from the market, but they may force manufacturers to adjust formulas or change product labeling in the future. And in the food industry, when regulations begin to change, the change rarely happens immediately. It happens gradually. Formulas are adjusted, ingredients are replaced, labels are updated, and after some time, The product is still on the supermarket shelf, but it is no longer exactly the same as the version consumers were once familiar with. 5. Artificial vanilla. Did you know that most vanilla flavor in food has never come from the vanilla plant? Vanilla is one of the most familiar flavors in the world. You find it in cakes, ice cream, yogurt, breakfast cereals, even in some beverages. The aroma is light, sweet, and almost a standard for many desserts. But there is a fact many people do not notice. Most of the vanilla we taste every day is actually synthetic vanillin. According to many estimates in the food industry, about 95% of vanilla flavor on the market today does not come from real vanilla beans. The reason is quite simple. Natural vanilla is one of the most expensive spices in the world. Vanilla plants are difficult to grow, must be pollinated by hand, and the fermentation process that develops the aroma can take many months. Because of that, 1 kilogram of natural vanilla can sometimes cost hundreds of dollars, far higher than synthetic flavorings. A friend of mine once said that he started baking at home and bought a fairly large bottle of vanilla flavor at the supermarket. For many months, he used it for every batch of cakes, until one day he carefully read the ingredient label. The bottle did not contain natural vanilla extract. The main ingredient was simply synthetic vanillin mixed with alcohol and water. The familiar aroma was still there, but the origin was completely different from what he had imagined. This does not mean artificial vanillin is dangerous. In many cases, it is simply a way for the food industry to create a stable flavor at a lower cost. But as the trend toward natural foods becomes stronger, consumers have begun paying more attention to the small words on labels. Natural vanilla, vanilla extract, or simply vanillin. And when the way people read labels begins to change, the formulas of many products begin to change as well. Some manufacturers shift toward more natural flavor sources. Others adjust flavor ratios to keep product prices stable. Because sometimes the most familiar flavor in our kitchen is a flavor that never truly came from the vanilla plant. 4. Processed protein bars. Protein bars. Many people see them as the healthiest option in their bag. A quick meal, compact, easy to carry when there is no time to prepare anything else. You simply open the package, eat it in a few minutes, and feel like you just chose a good solution for your health. That is why on the packaging of most of these products, you always see familiar phrases such as high protein, low sugar, or healthy snack. But when some people begin to read the ingredient list more carefully, they notice something quite surprising. Some protein bars on the market contain more than 20 different ingredients. Not only protein from whey, soy, or peas. Alongside that, there are alternative sweeteners, stabilizers, emulsifiers, flavorings, and many compounds that help the product keep a soft texture for many months. And here is what makes many people pause and think. In some cases, the ingredient list of a protein bar is even longer than the list of a typical candy bar. This is not always dangerous, but it makes many people start paying closer attention to what they are actually eating every day. A comment under a nutrition article once said very directly, "I once thought a protein bar was the healthiest item in my bag, until I read the ingredient list and realized there were too many things I did not know what they were." That comment received a lot of agreement. Not because protein bars are certainly bad, but because many people realized they had become used to eating a convenient product without ever truly looking at what it was made of. In reality, to achieve long shelf life, a soft texture and stable flavor, the food industry often has to add ingredients such as preservatives, synthetic sweeteners, or compounds that help maintain product structure. These ingredients help protein bars avoid becoming dry, prevent flavor changes, and keep their shape after many months of storage and transportation. In recent years, as consumers have begun paying more attention to foods with fewer and more recognizable ingredients, many brands have gradually changed the way they produce these products. Some have shifted to simpler formulas. Some have reduced additives and emphasized ingredients that are easier to understand. Because sometimes what makes a food appear healthy is not the large words printed on the front of the package, but the small ingredient list on the back that very few people have ever read. 3. Spray cooking oil. Spray cooking oil was created to solve a very simple problem in the kitchen: how to coat a thin layer of oil on a pan or baking tray without pouring too much. With just one press, the oil is sprayed into a fine mist that evenly covers the surface of the food. Because of that, for many years, this type of product has become common in modern kitchens. Many people use it to roast vegetables, fry eggs, or keep pans from sticking during cooking. But behind that convenience is a detail many people rarely notice. Most traditional spray cooking oils use aerosol cans with compressed gas to push the oil out. This mechanism allows the oil to spray in a very fine and even mist, something that ordinary spray bottles often cannot achieve. However, this pressurized system also means that this type of packaging must follow strict transportation and environmental regulations. In recent years, some regulations related to aerosol containers have been reviewed or updated. As standards change, many manufacturers have also had to reconsider the design of their packaging. This does not mean spray cooking oil will disappear, but the way it is packaged may look different from before. Some brands have begun switching to mechanical spray bottles that operate with a hand pump instead of compressed gas. These bottles are simpler and easier to recycle, but the oil spray is often not as fine as the traditional pressurized cans. What is interesting is that a small product like spray oil shows how packaging technology, environmental regulations, and cooking habits can influence each other. Sometimes the first thing that changes in the kitchen is not the ingredient, but the way it is packaged and used. 2. Industrial ice cream. Ice cream was once a very simple dessert. In many traditional recipes, ice cream required only a few basic ingredients: milk, cream, sugar, and eggs. When churned and chilled correctly, this mixture creates a smooth texture and the familiar rich, sweet flavor. But when the food industry began producing ice cream on a large scale, the formula also had to change to fit transportation and long-term storage. Industrial ice cream needs to keep a stable texture in supermarket freezers, avoid separating, and remain easy to scoop even after long storage. To achieve that, many manufacturers add stabilizers, emulsifiers, and texture-forming compounds. These ingredients help ice cream maintain smoothness, reduce ice crystals, and keep a consistent texture during freezing. However, as consumers begin paying more attention to foods with simpler ingredients, many people also read ingredient labels more carefully on familiar products such as ice cream. Quite a few people realize that the ingredient list of some industrial ice creams is much longer than traditional recipes. That does not necessarily make industrial ice cream a negative product, but it makes many people pay closer attention to how food is produced and why foods that seem very simple gradually become more complex over time. Because sometimes the difference between traditional ice cream and a box of industrial ice cream lies in the small lines in the ingredient list on the back of the package. 1. Soft drinks with artificial coloring. For many years, bottles of soda with bright colors have become a familiar sight on supermarket shelves. Red, blue, or orange not only make the product look more attractive, but also help consumers recognize the brand instantly. However, behind those colors are often synthetic dyes used to keep beverages visually consistent during production and transportation. In recent years, these color additives have been examined more closely by many regulatory agencies and consumers. Some countries have begun restricting or eliminating certain types of color additives. At the same time, many beverage companies are experimenting with new formulas that use natural colors from plants or fruits instead of synthetic dyes. These changes often happen quietly, but over time, some familiar sodas may change color, change their formulas, or gradually be replaced by newer versions. Because sometimes the first thing that changes in a familiar product is not the flavor, but the color we have been used to seeing for many years. The history of the food industry shows something quite clear. Foods rarely disappear completely. They usually just change. One ingredient is replaced, a new formula appears, and over time, familiar products sometimes no longer look the same as before. Because of this, many people have begun paying closer attention to food ingredients, not to panic, but to understand that the food system is always changing. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel, and share in the comments. Among the 10 items we just discussed, which one surprised you the most? Because sometimes small changes in food reflect much larger changes in the entire food system.